Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our Indivisible California 45 meeting today. Is there anyone who's here for the first time? Okay, quite a few of you. Well, welcome. So let's go to the next slide and we'll go over our agenda for today. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over some of the things that we've been doing this past month in May. And my name is Debbie Longenbacher. I am part of the steering committee, and we're going to have some brief presentations from other members of the steering committee. My husband, Harry Longenbacher, and Patricia Hanso is also going to talk about some of the things that we've been doing over the last month. And then we have our guest speaker, Assemblywoman Sharon Quirk-silva, and she'll be talking with us after that. And then we're going to be planning for June and looking forward beyond that as well. So next slide. Okay. So we're going to talk about our weekly rallies. How many of you have been to one of our Monday evening rallies? Oh, a lot of you. Wonderful. So, and then Harry's going to talk about the rally that we had at the Nixon Library on the 17th. And then Patty's going to talk about office visits with Derek Tran. And some of the things that we did, but we don't have much to report on it since it's already done, is writing postcards and letters to young Kim to ask her to vote no on the budget, which she did not do, because we wanted to preserve funding for Medicaid. So next slide. Okay, we weren't quite ready for that. That's Harry's part, but for those of you who've been to our Monday evening rallies, I'd like a couple of comments on things that you've liked about it. What would you encourage other people to go? Anyone wants to make a comment?
I got a comment. I've noticed, Victor Perez.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's
Victor Perez. What I've noticed, I've gone to the rallies, and I think people have taken notice that when you were first there, lots of trucks carried out from the group. Testing. So I noticed that at the rallies, the first part of us getting there and stuff, weeks ago, the trucks that were going past, if everybody who was there noticed, it was about 3 trucks every stoplight, you know. Then it went down a little bit, and now it's down to like 2 stoplights, and then a truck comes up and stuff. So you can see how the tariffs and stuff are affecting the dogs and stuff, right there in front of us, live.
That's a good comment. Thank you for noticing that. Now, anyone else would like to share an experience they've had with our Monday evening rallies? Nobody? Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm Karen. I didn't attend last week's rally, but the weeks that I've been there, I've noticed that there are more people honking, and the young people that are coming from the college, I'm usually on the southeast corner, and kids that are coming to the college, I was telling the lady here, is that they look like they want to honk, but they don't honk until the light changes, and then they start honking. And I also want to comment, so far I haven't had really, maybe 2 in the last, 6 weeks that we've been doing this? Going 5, 6 weeks? Oh, well, I've been only doing it 6. Only 2 that have given me the finger, acted like, they didn't like what we were doing. But I'm going to continue.
Great, thank you. So we've been doing this now since the beginning of March, every Monday from 5 to 6:30. I think we have time for one more comment if anyone else wants to. Okay.
Is this working? Okay. Hi, my name is Jeffrey. I've been going to the weekly protests for the past like 5 weeks. I'm one of the huge signs that Trump violated his oath. When I had that sign, I noticed I got so many more reactions, positive and negative, but mostly positive. And I'm so hyped to be at these protests. If anyone sees, like, if I see anyone be excited to see me, then that's a win for me.
Thank you. Thank you all, those of you who have come and you who haven't been before. It's every Monday evening from 5 to 6:30. We're at the corner of Imperial and State College, right in front of the Brea Mall. And we average about 100 people every week that come out for that rally. So I'd like to invite Harry Longenbacher to come up and talk about the rally that we sponsored along with Democrats of North Orange County on the 17th.
Okay, next slide, please. This was a lot of fun for us. The punchline is we got on Rachel Maddow. And the only time that happened before, here's a little background, was back in 2018 when we held a retirement party for Ed Royce, which is a fun thing, you know, there's humor, because he decided not to run again. Next slide, please. So we chose this venue twice before, back when we were Indivisible 39. When Trump was attacking the EPA, we decided to have a protest at the Nixon Library because Nixon founded the EPA. He actually did something good. And so it was an appropriate venue for that, but it was a serious topic. Next slide, please. And then in 2018, in November of 2018, Trump fired Jeff Sessions, and we had 700 people signed up in advance so that email everyone who had signed up, and we got 200 or 300 people to show up 24 hours later for a protest at the Nixon Library. And there the idea was to compare, you know, the Saturday Night Massacre to what Trump had just done. And that was a successful rally, but it got no press at all. Next slide. So on the 14th, we collaborated with the Democrats of North Orange County. Andre Charles' idea was the biggest dick in the White House since Nixon. And we decided we're going to have fun doing that. We passed out balloons to everyone. And I took 3 of the photos from Gus's photos. And I've been watching Rachel Maddow for forever, and I kind of know what she likes, so I picked 3 photos that I thought she would like, posted it on the Sky, and sent a link to her Maddow blog and said, hey, check this out. And here's what she did. Please start the video.
San Diego and also in San Francisco. Simultaneously in San Diego and also in San Francisco and also in Sacramento. Also this weekend, also in California, there was a big, joyous, and sort of gleefully foul-mouthed anti-Trump demonstration at the Nixon Library in Yorba Linda, California. I say foul-mouthed, it was mildly foul-mouthed. They held signs like, way worse than the last nickname for Richard in the White House. Also this one, which pictures Richard Nixon himself saying, I can't believe they let Trump get away with all this. stuff. This weekend there were anti-Trump protests in Buffalo, New York, and in Austin, Texas, at the Texas State Capitol. There were anti-Trump protests this weekend in
Okay, that was our 35 seconds of fame. And I like that she gave us 35 seconds. You see, usually she goes through and gives everyone 2 seconds and shows them. But she really liked this one. Even though it was humorous, it was a good point to make that Nixon used to be the epitome of corruption in the White House. And now he's practically an angel compared to Trump. So we can't believe that he's getting away with all this shit. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, looks like you had a comment. Were you there?
I wasn't at that protest, but I sure wish I was. I have a question for, I guess, everybody. Oh, thank you. I know we all have, like, that skeptical friend who says protests don't do anything, blah, blah, blah. However, it's really important that through word of mouth, like, we encourage people to get involved, because they can hear something on the news, but it's when they have a friend in person telling them to get involved that it's most powerful. And I was wondering, what strategies have people found to encourage their peers to get involved? What words do you use? What points of view do you share?
Well, there certainly are a lot of things that we can do to get involved, and we're going to be talking about some of those things. This is just a review of what we've done this month. And so I'm going to invite Patty to come up and talk about our office visit with Derek Tran's office.
I'm going to test out this microphone. Welcome, everyone. This is Indivisible CA45. And I wanted to mention, before I forget, I put up this QR code. We are a chapter of Indivisible here in the 45th. Indivisible National is indivisible.org. So they do a lot of fundraising. And chapters like ours can benefit from grants. And this month, starting tomorrow in June, they're going to have a fundraiser for groups that want to participate. So our group is asking if you please want to donate. 100% of the first $500 that we get donated in the month of June will be matched by Indivisible National. So that's why you see the QR code. And if you know our website, it's indivisibleca45.org. So if you can, please donate. If you have neighbors or relatives that have told you, I don't want to go to a protest, but I can do anything else, say, can you donate? This might be a good thing to suggest. As far as meeting with Derek Tran, we went last Wednesday, and it was Christine, she's the lady that's outside on the table signing you in, Debbie, and myself, and we saw that in the office they have more staffers. Those desks, if you guys, we reported last time that we went to the open house, and they were still hiring about 2 or 3 staff members. And so we're here to report that they've hired more folks. They have 2 interns that have been working at the Derek Tran office in Cypress. And so we met one of them, his name is Anthony, and he's going to be finishing up this internship and moving on to a different project. During the visit, we were able to give them thank you cards for how Derek Tran voted. Derek Tran was not in office, so we spoke to the district director. And so today we want to encourage you, if you have time during the week, from 8 to 5, we are the constituents, so you have every right to just drop into the office and talk to whoever is on the desk, and just get to see the office and see what they can help you with. They have help in casework for federal cases if you're dealing with a federal agency and you want some kind of support or learn how to navigate that, they have caseworkers for that. And the district director, if he's available, you can say hello, and and he let us know that it's, as you know, a very contentious time in Congress, but that there are Republican congressmen who want to sign on to some of these bills that Democrats are creating, but they can't. So until they get a spine and more courage, then we're going to get Republicans voting no. But it sounds like Trump has a strong hold on most of the Republicans. And it's very frustrating, and it enrages most of us when Representative Young Kim in the 40th lies to everyone. So if you know anyone that lives in the 40th Congressional District, and it might feel uncomfortable or awkward, just make a casual comment. Oh my God, I can't believe that the Congresswoman in Yorba Linda, or the Congressman that represents Mission Viejo, or the Congresswoman that represents Chino Valley actually voted against us. We gotta vote her out. And if you just make that comment to a neighbor or a friend or someone in that district, it might open up a conversation, because a lot of people might not care about politics, or they're apolitical. So we're encouraging you to visit the Congressman's office, and if you know anyone that lives in the 40th, to visit her office in Anaheim Hills, south of the 91 freeway. And as far as an idea, we're gonna propose it now. We, in the steering committee, have been discussing encouraging our membership to go visit our Congressman's office to understand what their staff does, and that they can see that there are people who care and are paying attention. MAGA Republicans also contact his office. Even though he won with 600 votes, we still need to show up and let him know, we like how you voted. Can you give us a status update on whatever issues of concern to you, whether it's the climate, whether it's housing, whether it's immigration, whatever topic impacts you. So the idea is for us to do Friday Cypress office visits and submit a comment card. So a lot of times when you go to a congressional member's office, they have like a half sheet, and you can write your name and address. They want your address, because if you live in their district, you're gonna get their attention. One interesting thing that Cody Mendoza, he's the district director, shared is that they realized that, you know, when we see a map of Congress, this district, we thought it was 14 cities. And he said, well, we actually learned that there's one street with maybe 5 homes or 10 homes from Yorba Linda, from Hawaiian Gardens, from Lakewood, cities that we thought weren't part of the district. So every time you go to their office, you might learn a little bit of new information. And so the dates that we're thinking, and we wanted to propose it here, is Friday, June 13th, on a Friday the 20th, July 14th, July 18th. The congressional schedule, on July 25th, we can go visit, but after that, he's gonna be on a congressional break all summer until September. So that's how that works. The advantage is they're not gonna, they're gonna be doing a lot of face-to-face. So a part of his work is going to be ribbon cuttings, going to different events, and if you know of an event, and if you can let everybody here know, or share it with us, we can put it out and say, hey, there's gonna be an event, let's go support him. Same thing goes, if you find out of an event for Representative Young Kim in the 40th, that we can kind of spread the word out too, because we're connected with other coalitions, other indivisible groups, and so that's where we are with that. Any questions about visiting the Tran office?
Are you asking us to go as a group together?
People, if you want to carpool, or if we want to set up a carpool, or if you want to go on
I
your own.
think later when we start planning for what we're doing in June, we're going to talk about that more in detail, decide on a day that people would like to go and a time. We can talk about doing carpools, but as individuals, you can go anytime you want.
Well, the other question I had, can we get a schedule of their trans locations for events, and we can show up and support? There's got to be a schedule, a calendar schedule, something for me.
Well, he has a scheduler, and they don't make all that public
Oh, they don't.
for safety. They don't. One more question. June 13th, June 20th, July 11th, July 18th. These are Fridays. And it could be something from
There's a question about where his office is. The only district office is the one in Cypress.
So it's in Cypress, exit Catella off the 91, south of that. I have the address if you want to write it down. 6803 International Avenue, Cypress. And it's by the Target, so you can do some shopping after.
No, you can't. We're boycotting Target.
Oh, that's right. Never mind.
One of the things that we did at our meeting is we made sure that we were thanking Derek Tran that he voted no on Trump's big barbaric bill. And Cody shared with us a video of his speech on the congressional floor on May 21st. So if we can show that.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition to this reckless attempt by Republicans to force through a reconciliation bill that makes life harder for the working families in California's 45th District. My constituents deserve better than this budget. The American people deserve better than this budget. Republicans are taking money out of your pocket and giving it to billionaires and big companies. Over 250,000 people in my district rely on Medicaid, over 100,000 of them are children and seniors. Nearly 40,000 children, seniors, veterans, and families in my district will have less food on their tables because of Republicans' cuts to SNAP. Our constituents sent us here to fight for them. They're looking for us for answers, and all Republicans can offer are higher costs for less care. That's not okay with me. Our constituents deserve better, and I urge my colleagues to vote no.
When we asked the district director, do you want our people to tell you your stories? And he said, we need those stories. If you have a relative that has benefits, that's part of it that's going to be negatively impacted, contact. You can go on the contact online page, send your information because they need to say, I have a constituent, I have this many, and a story. They can change the name of your relative. If it's a grandkid, if it's yourself, please share your stories.
Kind of sums up what we've done this month. And certainly we're going to talk about contacting your legislative folks a little bit later. But please, shoot an email to Derek, thank him for his vote. And if there are other issues that you have concerns about, or that you wish to thank him for, please do that as well. So we're going to switch gears now. And next slide. And I'd like to introduce our Assemblywoman Sharon Quirk-silva from our State Assembly District 67, I think it is now. And so she's going to talk with us about various issues, and we'll have time for a few questions as well.
Hi, everybody. How are you? I feel like some of you I've, over the 20 years have been elected, have interfaced with, but when you go to Sacramento, you really kind of lose some of the local touch. So I haven't seen some of you in quite a while, but I'm really appreciative of you being active in Indivisible 45. And just to take a note on that, every action is an important action. So whether it's a call, a letter, a protest, raising funds, those really do mean something, particularly in this area. As I noted, I started on the Fullerton City Council in 2004. So I've been elected now for quite a while, and this is my last term. You need to take that picture down. That hair looks better than it is now, believe me. So over those years, 8 years on City Council, this is now my 11th year on State Assembly, seen a lot, watched a lot, and yet in this particular moment, it's horrifying what we are seeing at the federal government. Just absolutely, really couldn't even imagine some of the things that are happening. you look at our immigrant communities, particularly our Latino communities, being targeted and sent without due process to whether it's El Salvador, and we don't even know everywhere they're being sent. And they have no access to lawyers, families being broken apart. And I'll dwell on this for a moment because California is the 4th largest economy. That's not gonna last long with the attacks not only on our immigrant community, who by the way, are working in our Central Valley and the farms, who are doing the hospitality in our hotels, who are working in our restaurants, who are taking care of our children. These are going to cripple California, and it's exactly why Trump is doing what he's doing. Don't make any issue about it. Trump benefited off of immigrant labor for those hotels and also didn't pay them many times. And he's going to continue to go after them. But even before Trump got into office, Orange County had 1,000% increase in ICE transfers. 1,000% increase over the sheriff that we have. So a huge attack. But it isn't just Latino communities that are being deported. We're in Orange County, we have Vietnamese, Philippine, all kinds of other, now Cuban, and this whole idea that we don't understand that nobody is running to those jobs. Nobody's running to get up at 4 in the morning to work at 110 degrees up in the Central Valley. So make no mistake, this is a way to cripple California's economy, and it is already happening. Down in the ports of Long Beach, you have a 35% decline in those containers coming in. Doesn't just hurt the longshoremen, but it's also jobs in the trucking industry and the shelves where we can see prices going up. So a very big deal there. So many things where you see these pardons that are illegal. I mean, you're pardoning people because they can pay to play, just things we couldn't even imagine. So I don't want to spend too much other than I'm horrified and we need you. We need every single thing that you do because hopefully there will be a time we wake up and this nightmare will be over, but the damage being done now is going to be startling. When we think about things like Medi-Cal and Medicaid, of course this is going to hurt hardworking Californians, but then you add Social Security, and they keep saying, oh, we're not attacking Social Security. They don't have to cut Social Security to attack it. What you do is what they're doing with the Veterans Administration, is you start starving and cutting positions, and when you never can get an answer on a phone call, little by little, you're going to give up. If you can't get an appointment, little by little, and my mother is 88 years old, is she going to go down to the Social Security and wait all day? So this is the way they start to do it. Same things with veterans. I actually had, one of the things of the climate now is when you're elected, you get a lot of trollers who are very aggressive, writing all kinds of things that you can expect that they would write. But I had somebody write into me, veteran, they're not taking our benefits, and you're lying. And I said, they may not be taking your benefits, but again, when they cut administration and they cut positions, are you going to be able to get those health care appointments? Are you going to be able to get those counseling appointments? So make no mistake, there is an attack. When we look at our federal lands, people who've never been involved with politics, like I like to hike and I like to, do yoga and all of these things. Now they're seeing what's happening on our federal lands. When you starve those positions at our national parks, you're going to be waiting in line. They're going to close it. So that's the kind of audience we have to start speaking to. People that never thought that they want to be political. Well, if you like hiking and you like nature and you like the protection on our oceans or on our national parks, then you better get involved. And we're starting to see that. We're starting to see that. But those are the audience that you can be talking to. Let's switch to the state. California is in a major budget crisis. We can talk a lot about why, but ultimately, after the pandemic, the federal resources that were infused have stopped. When you look at sales tax, all of those things have shrunk. So we're in a critical budget. I'm a chair of the largest subcommittee in the state on state administration, and I chair the budget subcommittee. So I literally see line by line what kind of programs we have, where we're going to be cutting, and there will be drastic cuts. And there are some programs that I would say are priorities that we shouldn't cut. There's some that we could let go, and this is the same as your own household budget. In tough times, there's things that you need to say, okay, I can't do that right now, and so on. There's a few good news. One is that in 2013 or 14, we established a rainy day fund. Some of the deficit will come out of that rainy day fund, but again, we don't want to use all of it because we want to have some for next year and the year after, and we're going to need that. Second is we don't have all the taxes that have come in, an example being Los Angeles because of the wildfires. They have not, they had an extension. So it could end up looking a little bit better, but one of the areas, of course, that is being talked about is on healthcare under Medi-Cal, where California has been expanded healthcare to many, many areas. Yes, undocumented. People can argue all day about it, but bottom line, it is not just the undocumented that have grown in Medi-Cal. It's seniors, aging seniors, many, many people that enrolled that were not expected. So those costs just ballooned. Governors may revise, suggest to cut some of that, including the undocumented, and also to add a monthly fee and do an asset test. Now, why the asset test could kick off a lot of people off Medi-Cal, and I'm talking about undocumented, so there's a lot of efforts to try to save these programs. And at this point, the budget has to be passed by June 15th. So we're on June 1. So we are talking in the next 2 weeks quite a bit of negotiations. That's pretty much full-time what I spend my time on. Again, my committee has everything under it, from veterans to all of the state employees, every state agency in it, to the office of the governors. And we fight with the governor right now, believe it or not, just because we're Democrats. We have a lot of fights, not only with the Democrat governor, but also the Senate side, because we're trying to keep and prioritize programs that we want. So right now, that's what's happening. We agree on some things. We're trying to get the governor has 50 priorities, right? Can you have 50 priorities? No. So we're saying if you want to take this, then you need to give up this. He usually gets what he wants. And so we'll see how that goes. But housing in California continues to be one of the #1 polling issues that not only young Californians, but aging Californians are saying is an affordability issue. Many of you know that, which is that in Orange County, we graduate thousands of students from Cal State Fullerton to UC Irvine. We have 2 community colleges, and many, many of these individuals cannot afford rent. Not even talking about a home. Afford rent, which is about $2,500 for a 2-bedroom apartment now in Orange County. So building is a huge effort. Now, everybody doesn't agree on the type of building, but what we agree on is that to build anything in California, it's taking too long. 5 years, sometimes even 10 years to get any type of building in California. So this is one of the areas that I've worked aggressively in. Some people dislike, if you want to say, some of the bills that I've put forward on housing, and they are aggressive. But along with that, I've also worked on saving, like saving Coyote Hills, like saving the Fox Fullerton, like saving the Hunt Library. So you can do two things at the same time. You can protect areas that are historic and valued, open spaces, but also aggressively build. But we can't have it both ways in California. If we don't build, which we haven't done really since the 80s, it puts us exactly where we are today, which is a housing crisis. And the housing crisis is keeping people, young people, from staying here in Orange County. How many of you have adult kids who don't live here in California anymore? Or are going to have to move? So I see a few hands up. How many of you have young adults, family members who are spending about close to half of their income on housing? There, those hands go up. Right. And this is unsustainable. So that is why I work in that space so much, is we have a lot of what we call NIMBYs, not in my backyard. Like, sure, go ahead and build that in Long Beach or La Habra, but not here. But see, we can't do that. Every city has to be responsible for building. And we can do it where we go up versus across. There is space to go up. And yet we get a lot of panic, like, oh my gosh, that's just too much. Well, where are people going to not only live, but how are they going to work? Our economy depends on workers. So lots of legislation in that area. And we fight on them all the time. And some bills get out, some bills don't. A lot of the bills that I do are kind of slivers in housing, but going back to the budget, the governor, this budget, zeroed out all the housing, all zero on every housing budget that we've done. He pretty much has hit the wall and is angry at all local cities and is kind of throwing his hands up and saying, I'm not giving you any more money because you're not doing what we've, and that's true. There are cities that do nothing. But when you zero out a budget for housing, the good actors aren't going to get those dollars. And the little bit of progress we've made, which some people will say we've made no progress, and the truth is we have built permanent supportive units. We can't keep up with the amount of permanent supportive housing units we need, so we still have homeless and we still have encampments. And it looks like we're never making progress, even though we have housed people, we still get a backfill. Who knows the fastest growing individuals that are falling into homelessness? Older women, senior women. So there's a lot of myths out there, and yet California is aging, and senior women are the fastest number growing into homelessness. So it's a serious issue, and I can see why in some ways the governor's like, I'm done. Well, my issue with the governor now is if you're going to be done, you should have never had the policy 6 years ago of allowing these encampments, because now he's saying to cities just enforce. And my question to him is, where are they going? Where are they going? Our shelters are filled, and just right here in North Orange County, if you don't know, Buena Park hosts this shelter, Placentia hosts this shelter, Fullerton does, and that's what we call the system in North Orange County. And those are filled, basically 1 or 2 beds open up, maybe, but that is it. And we have some people in these shelters, which should have been a 3-6 month, now a year or 2 year, and the reason they're stuck is because there's nowhere to go. And then if you say you can't be at a park, which again, I get the safety issue and I understand by schools, and again, I don't want to see encampments either, but the question is, where are they going? And that's not just here in California, it's now across the United States. Homelessness has grown. California kind of got the bad rap for a long time, but again, so that is one of the areas that we continue to work. We're fighting to retain or bring back, I should say, some funding in the housing budget. And I think we're going to be successful to get some, but it won't be what it has been. So that's one of the #1 priorities, is to bring some dollars back. And you will know in about 10 days what's in that budget. And so it's really an experience to work in that capacity at the state level, where you're seeing line items and people are saying, well, what do you think about this program? What do you think about that program? Do you want to retain this? Do you want to? And sometimes I'm looking over my shoulder like, are you asking me that? And that's the role I have, which is a pretty significant role in the state of California. So I really enjoy that, but I've been chair of committees. I've been chair of the Veterans Committee, all types of committees. We have been working, some of you may or may not have followed it, for over a decade on a Southern California Veterans Cemetery that would be up in Gypsum Canyon, and we are very close to our final piece of legislation that we believe will finally get us there, which is a CEQA exemption for that piece of property. So stay tuned. If you haven't seen it, you can look up. It's really a beautiful place. So those are the kind of areas I work on: mental health, foster youth, these types of things. But I do want to go back to Derek Tran and some of the lay of the land, particularly of what we see and hear for 2026. One is Derek Tran has a major re-election. So he is, from what I can see, hardworking, very bright, and is already doing a good job. But make no mistake, he will have a contender. We're hearing it could be Michelle Steele again, or possibly even Janet Nguyen. Janet Nguyen is the supervisor that was just elected to Orange County supervisor, but was also in the Senate, the Assembly. She has been elected. She is a hard worker. We're hearing she may want to run for this seat. She's Vietnamese. That would cut into that constituency that he has. And if Michelle Steele runs again, they will learn from whatever they didn't do in the past. What they have in common with my district is that there are 3 LA cities, which are the same cities I have: Hawaiian Gardens, Cerritos, and Artesia. Those are the cities that put Derek over the top of those 500 votes. It was the Los Angeles part of the district. They're very, Artesia and Hawaiian Garden are very Latino dominant and very small, and in many ways very underserved. Cerritos is a little bit of a different animal, more like Cypress, but those are where Orange County people, or even Indivisible 45, may never go into those cities. He will need you in those cities, because that's the votes you gotta pull out to offset the Cypress. Cypress is a tough area. I've been serving in this seat now for 11 years, and they have never asked me to speak at a Chamber of Commerce meeting. They are very difficult. So you have to pull the votes out from somewhere else. And he is going to need every bit of help he can to retain that seat, let alone the other seats we need to retain, which also includes Dave Mitten's seat, and trying to pick up additional seats. But we have to protect the seats we have. Really important. Now, a lot of people say, well, in California, at least, we have the supermajority in the Senate, with the governor, and with the state assembly. That is true, but we lost 2 seats last cycle in the state assembly, so even though we still have a cushion, there are what we call a trend of course, younger voters, men, also Latinos who are moving right, what we would call mega Latinos. They picked up 2 seats that were heavily Democratic out in the Riverside area with Leticia Castillo, Republican Latina, and also Jeff Gonzalez, Republican Latino. So this is their MO. I would not be surprised, and you should watch this very carefully, the seat that I am termed out of, that they don't get either a Latina to run in that, Republican to run in this seat, or a Korean to run in this seat. This is what they're doing. And some people would say, like, well, should we invest in that seat or not? When we start moving down, and there could be a possibility of them picking up either my seat or another seat, all of a sudden those numbers get close to a majority. Now, why is that important? You see what happens at the federal government. The same thing would be happening here in California. So there is a lot to watch with the governor's race, with these seats. My seat has always been very purplish, and it's been a tough seat to not only hold. Matter of fact, speaking of young Kim, I'm the only one that's beat her. She beat me and I beat her. That being said, you know, she can be beat in this election, but there are so many Democrats running in that seat. We'll see what happens. I would say, just from what I can see, there is a woman, a Democrat woman, Esther Kim, who's running. She is self-funded by about $1 million. She looks to be running a big race already, but there's 3 or 4 Democrats in that seat. I think she ends up as the top, so you could have young Kim and Esther Kim there in that seat. But these are all things to watch. Last, what I'll say is the polling out there that we were just recently shared with us still shows, even though there are people who don't, of course, like Trump, they're still not outraged, which of course is shocking, right? But there's still people who are like, well, that doesn't affect me. Well, I don't like him, but. And the Democrat, if you want to say brand, really has declined. And even though we feel it, because you're with kind of like-minded people, there's people who, like you say, just like, I don't want to talk about it. That's, you know, they're not outraged enough to maybe either switch parties or come back as Democrats. And then when you look at what happened with this young male voter really moving towards Trump, that's a whole nother discussion, but they really infiltrated the college campuses. Podcasts is where they really were able to bring in people, because young people are not listening to Rachel. They're not listening to CNN. They're not listening to Fox. They're going to podcasts. And that's where they really made a dent on these, with the Charlie Kirks. So when you say, oh gosh, why was Gavin or Governor, why was he interviewing Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk and all of these kind of bro guys? A lot of it is because he is seeing that universe. He is seeing, if he wants to really make a run for governor at some point, he's got to move into that universe. So there's a lot to really look at, but those are some of the layers. With that, I'll stop talking and see if you have questions. Denise.
How many candidates are going to be running in your district, number one? And then number two, a lot of the politicians always talk about, as far as the homelessness, is supply and demand issue of housing. However, financial is more important, because a lot of people, they can't get jobs. It's hard to get jobs in the economy right now, and they're not making living wages, so they can't afford it.
All right, I'll take one and then two. One is my race. Right now, there are 3 Democrats in the race, but there will be more that maybe I don't know about. One is Ada Briceño, she used to be the chair of the Democratic Party, but also a Unite Here, very labor, but just moved into the district, to Cypress. The second person is Ali Taj. He's a mayor in the LA part of the district, and has been involved in all the League of Cities and kind of a pragmatic, middle of the road. And then the third is Mark Polito, who is just got elected to Cerritos Council, but was on the council before, very much kind of part of the Democratic Party. They all will have their constituencies. I'm endorsing Ali, but they're all going to have their fans and supporters. It will be a big race with a lot of money dumped into it. On the Republican side, we don't know who that is, but the Republicans believe they can take this seat. Remember, it used to be Republican before so they very much want this seat as a pickup seat. So keep your eyes on it, but it's going to be a lot of money in this race. Second question on housing, which is exactly right. Even if you have the units, the living wage for a lot of folks is just not attainable to even afford a one-bedroom, let alone sharing. And that's a whole wage issue where you're, again, finding either women who raised their families, maybe didn't have that profession, get divorced. That's one of the biggest things, and that's why you're seeing them falling into homelessness, is a lot of that background and maybe not having the technology skills for the type of jobs. And even people who do with AI, who knows what's going to happen in the workforce. But it's very difficult out there, particularly for women.
I wanted to ask you about rent control. There's a movement in Anaheim that I have observed, I'm not part of it, for rent control, because there apparently is some law, I'm not sure if it's a state law or whatever, that allows landlords to raise the rent 5% or something, and they've been raising it to 20%, which is outrageous. But nobody's doing anything about it. There's apparently no staff that processes and looks at that and goes after those.
Rent control has been on the ballot now 3 times in the last, I think, 3 elections. Each election it has gone down. But the state, you are right, put on a cap for 5%, so you could not raise it more than 5%, but also with the cost of living, which means it can be more like 7 or 8%. Before that state law, depending on where you live, they could raise it 10% or whatever. So there is a cap now, but the problem is there were some landlords, and there still are, that don't raise it at all, depending on their tenants. And then there's others that are just going to raise it to the maximum, which is that 5% plus the cost of living, and it just becomes unsustainable. So there was a bill that just came through this session to try to address some of that, but again, even though I said there are many Democrats, there's a lot of Democrats that won't touch rent control because the apartment association and the realtors go after them big time, and they're big funders to campaigns. I voted for that bill, but I've already had articles written about Quirk-silva, this or that, and that bill ended up not getting out. It got out of the Housing Committee, which I'm at, but a lot of bills are double referred, and it did not get out of Judiciary. So at this point, I don't know that there's another attempt to put it on the ballot, but again, it's been on the ballot 3 times, and I don't know that there's any bills that will make it out.
I don't support rent control. I've owned a lot of property. I just don't think rent control is a very good idea. But what staff, what administrative unit in the state implements the laws we've got? Apparently nobody.
There are many agencies, HCD, which is the Housing development. And if you go onto their website, you will see different, all kinds of information. And you're right, some people don't support rent control, and other people's do. It's a fight in California. It's not just in California, it's really around the world. There are places that, so an example of Trump's budget is in the federal government, Section 8 is funded, and that is to provide subsidies. People complain about it all the time, but the truth is it's a very small percentage that get these, if you want to say, vouchers. And for a lot of them, they can't even find a landlord that will accept them. But for the ones that have them, it at least keeps them housed. That's on the chopping block. So to go back to federal government, there is $500 billion of proposed cuts to California. Again, one of the things people don't realize is California is a donor state, which means we send our taxes to the federal government. Up until now, that money would be returned to us, whether it would be disaster relief, whether it be for special ed students, students with disabilities, research to our universities. All of this proposed cuts that they are talking about would be $500 billion. So when I talk about us balancing the California budget this next week, we can do that, and we will, because it has to be done by June 15th. But it will be completely upside down because their budget isn't the same time as ours, and we may end up having to come back and completely cut if a lot of these things. Now, they're backing away from some, but they're not from others. And some of them are tied up in legal and courts now. So we have a good amount of time before we even have understand what these federal impacts are going to be.
Yes, thank you so much, Representative Quirk-silva. I just want to let you know, Indivisible statewide takes votes from all our members on priority bills, and so oftentimes your bills are probably part of the priority bills, so you may hear more from us in terms of supporting your actions. And so there is a bill I was going to speak about to get people to call you. So you are a co-author, I believe, of AB 736, the Affordable Housing Bond of 2026. Could you just...
That would be a future bond that would be probably the June primary, which I don't love bonds being on a primary. We've seen them go down, but it would be a housing bond. So zeroing out of the budget, if that passes, then those funds could be infused, which is what the governor is counting on. I buy it because if we look at the last bond, the prop, I think it was one with the care courts and all that, that barely passed in California, and it just barely passed. So now when we look at the climate for a housing bond next June, it may pass, and so if it does, that would be helpful, but I don't like balancing a budget off money we don't know that we have, which is why we're fighting. But yes, I do support it, and we do need these dollars to build housing in California. So I would say yes, support it, but it's not a good way. It's just like somebody saying, oh, I might get a bonus check, and therefore I can spend money, and you may not get it. Right. Thank you.
Okay.
One more?
I want to read a question from Zoom.
Oh, am I on Zoom and I didn't know?
Yeah.
It's okay, it's okay.
We have 13 people, well, 11 people watching on Zoom. And I'll read this. Hi Sharon, Pat Davis from Housing is a Human Right OC. Great to see you today. So upsetting to hear what lies ahead in budgeting. The County of Orange will have their 25-26 budget hearing on June 10th. Many will be there to advocate for more of the general fund revenue and pass-through monies going to supporting community resources for unhoused and housing insecure, not shelters. Public protection slated to get most. Any ideas on how to counter what we suspect will be their blaming their inability to help on the state and federal resources, blaming their the state and federal resources, including they're partnering with cities to meet their RHNA goals at low and very low income levels. May require a crystal ball, but any ideas are appreciated.
Well, I think you hit it on the head by your question answers it, which is the county will blame the state or the federal government and say we're not getting our dollars, therefore we can't. But you have to remember, up until now, I don't know if they're going to still do it in this next budget, each supervisor got about $10 million of, if you want to say, flexible income to spend in their districts. I mean, even if they focus that on housing, $10 million could build a certain amount of new units. The other thing is that, like I said, the state has the Housing Development Agency, and Orange County, by and large, is a very low participant in applying for these grants and funds. I get the awards all the time directly to me, and Orange County doesn't apply for the funds that the state has at a few, like Stanton has, but there's some cities that they just leave money on the table. They don't even go after what there is.
So please tell your city council members to apply for these grants.
They should be applying. We could write a letter of support. We've told them, we've held workshops, and they just don't apply.
And sometimes city halls don't have enough grant writers, so you gotta pressure them. It's on us, we're the constituents. We have a question.
Actually, I have a thank you for getting funding for Coyote Hills. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. And I know Josh Newman, our former senator, was a partner in that, and we're happy of the progress we made. Now, again, we could be stuck with the federal government, because I know there's been some federal government attempts, but it just appears that any federal government coming down into California could be hung up, and we may not be able to move that. There is a climate bond that was passed last year. There was some attempts to try to put some language in there, but now, again, because of the fires, the governor's taking money out of that. I mean, there's so much that we can't anticipate, but the fires have been huge, and they're not just the LA fault fires. We're talking about all the way from Paradise to Chico, and these have been a devastating, really amount of dollars coming out of the state budget. And then when we don't get any money back from the federal government, which is about $50 billion, that's huge.
Last chance, last question.
Hi, this goes back to one of your original statements about the need to build housing and to build up, which is great. But when we do that, what happens to the roads in that area? And how can that be part of the building plan for the builders that are coming in and going to make a vast amount of money off of this, while those moving into those homes and those that already live in the existing homes in the area suffer brutal consequences on the roads trying to get to work?
Well, there's a lot of impacts from building, and that's why they do have a mitigation that they're expected to do. So an example in Fullerton, just if you go off of Raymond, where they pulled down the hotel, which, by the way, could have been turned into some type of housing. They had just redone that hotel, and there's absolutely no reason for whatever amount of rooms they had at that hotel that couldn't. But again, that's why your city councils are so important. That's why who sits on, because all these decisions, but there was never forced mitigation dollars that were put on Raymond. So if you get off of Raymond, where all the trucking is happening, right there, your cars are just hitting, big potholes. Whereas on State College, they built a lot of storage or industrial, and they did do mitigation. So it's up to the council and the planning department that's working to force some of those mitigations, whether it's for parking, whether it's for open space, whatever it is, that's part of the development plan. But your council has to be all over it. Now, again, just because somebody's a Democrat on paper doesn't mean they really are going to look at this. So, for example, Fullerton has what seems to be on paper 3 Democrats. I got to tell you, they are not. 2 of them, Fred Jung and Jamie Valencia, haven't done one damn thing that looks to be that they want to be in any way. Now, when you're on a council, you're a nonpartisan, or supposed to be. But there's things, whether it's expanding parks, whether it's even housing, whatever it is, and yet they're just going along with Nick Dunlap. So we lost 1 seat over there by 55 votes. 55 votes. Had we been able to pick up that seat, you would see a whole different tenor type of behavior. I don't watch the council meetings myself, but my team does. They tell me about it. Fred Jung is rude to Ahmad and Dr. Shana Charles all day long, just embarrassing. And this is why voting matters. 55 votes. Basically, that was Tony Bushala infusing money into that race at the last moments to buy the council. And that's exactly what happened.
I presume to you. In Fullerton, how many of you are Fullerton residents?
Charter City in Fullerton.
A charter city in Fullerton. And I asked a question to Young, and well, actually to the whole council. Nick Dunlap is my area guy, who's just a seat filler. And I basically asked him, why? After all these years, why are we doing this? What is the purpose of it? And they never answered the question. And now they're going to spend lots of money on a study.
Doing a study, all of that.
A study.
It just to have more control.
We don't have to do a study to change to a charter city. And the thing about changing to a charter city, the main thing that I see, because I work for Fullerton and it's a charter city, is that there's more power on the council. And they don't rotate the mayor. The mayor could be a king in our city.
Yep.
And
that's why, I mean, there's so much when you look at federal, local, state, how can you spend all your day and time like, oh, I gotta run here, but I would say the thing that is closest to you is your local government, and this is a council that is doing everything they can to retain the power they have. My advice on any issue that you really think, okay, I don't support this, going the night that it's on the agenda, you're going to get your 3 minutes, but most of them have made up their mind. It's going now before it's on the agenda and speaking on it regularly. I know you were really involved with the Wilshire, and again, they didn't listen there, but don't let it be easy. Don't let it be easy. I mean, because they just count on people, okay, we're going to have 50 speakers that night, go off and regularly just to public comments, because if it's not on the agenda, you can speak on it. All right.
So we want to thank the Assembly member for her 24 years of service. Congratulations.
I'm not done. I have till 26. So a year and something left until I'm done with my session. But thank you all.
And just know that we do notice and we are very grateful for all the hard work you've done. And we encourage our members to follow city, whatever city you live in. If you have friends that live in Florida, for example, bring up this topic. Maybe they don't even know that Fred and Valencia and all these people that are just steamrolling and making themselves, mayor year after year. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody. And we're going to have everyone on the agenda.
Thank you so much, and
congratulations on your first grandchild.
Yes, and congratulations on all the progress that you've made for getting the Veterans Cemetery. I know that's been an important thing. Thank you. Okay, if we could have the slide for the activities starting in June, starting tomorrow. Okay. There's a couple of activities coming up. I know many of you may have signed up for the meeting with Derek Tran that's supposed to be Monday evening. That was canceled as of yesterday. We don't have any explanation, but just so you don't end up going to that. Hopefully it will be rescheduled and we'll find out later. The other thing, this is a big one. Indivisible National is supporting the No Kings rallies on June 14th. Trump is planning to have this big military bash in Washington, D.C., and so the response has been to have several large rallies across the country called No Kings rallies to combat this. And there are several taking place in Orange County, so if you have a busy schedule, you can probably find one that's at a time when you can go. In Long Beach from 9 to 11, Bixby Park Annex, Huntington Beach from 12 to 3 at the Huntington Beach Pier, Whittier City Hall at 2 to 5, and La Palma Park in Anaheim from 4 to 7:30. So there are lots of No Kings rallies that are close by, so no excuse to not go to one that day if you're in town. So anyways, keep those in mind. There may be other things, so keep abreast. We'll send out any email blasts of anything new that comes up. So next slide. Okay. Also in June, there's a lot of activities that are repeating activities. Many of you have gone to the Irvine events put by 5051 at Irvine City Hall every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4. And that's been quite a successful protest and rally. You know, it's great to get out there and share what you're concerned about and hold up your signs and wave your signs. But I find probably the most important thing of going to some of the rallies is you meet other people, you find out about other events and how to work with your elected officials. Also, our own Mondays, 5 to 6:30, the corner of Imperial and State College, right by the Brea Mall. We've been quite successful with this. We started in March, and we've been there every week. I think it's been 13 weeks now that we've been doing this. We average about 100 people. So thank you to everybody who has come. We're looking for volunteers to be safety monitors, making sure people get across the street safely and that sort of thing. So if you're willing and able to help with that, we need you. Also, being very concerned about safety, we're getting into summer and hot months, and we want to make sure that nobody has dehydration or heat stroke. So if the high temperature is above 90 for that day, we will be canceling those on Monday evening because we want to make sure that everybody stays healthy and safe. Tuesdays, this is a new one that just started last month, or this month in Orange, at the Orange Circle on Tuesdays, 5:30 to 7:30. I know I went to their first one, it was rather small, and I don't know if it's increased in size by now, hopefully so. Also, with Swing Left, they're having 2 voter registration events, one on June 9th and one on June 23rd. So those are all things that you can get involved with that are coming up this month. So next slide. Okay, boycotts. Target, the boycott between June 3rd and June 9th. Some of you, like me, are boycotting Target altogether. So if you go visit Derek Tran's office, don't go to Target afterwards, especially if you go that week. Also boycotting McDonald's for June 24th to 30th. And it looks like we have a question or comment here.
I just sent an email to Target to tell them that I haven't been there since February, and I won't go back until they publicly announced that they're going to go back to the DEI. Because I was thinking, you know, they don't know that I'm not going there. I'm going to tell them. And we should all tell them, you know.
Okay, good idea. So all of you former Target shoppers, that's a great idea. Send them an email.
Okay, I saw on the internet that you can go to America250.org and you can order 2 tickets for Trump's parade and be a no-show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's America250.org and you can reserve only 2 tickets. But that's something we can do. We have a lot of empty seats there.
Just apropos of the demonstrations that we've been having on Monday evenings at Imperial and State College. This last time I was up there, I was taking really some effort to make eye contact with drivers, smile at them, wave at them. And what was very interesting was that you got some of this very subtle, or a little tiny thumbs up, you know. And so what I was feeling was that people were being encouraged to respond, to see that we were out there. And I just think that's important, so that you have the people there laying on their horns and they're honking and it's great and the trucks go by. Oh, I a bus driver, city bus driver, just give me a little wave, you know. And it's those first little bits of resistance that we're encouraging. And I think it's just very important that we do that. And so I'm very glad we are continuing with those demonstrations. Something else I just wanted to mention was there is a podcast called Daily Beans. And one of the features that they do is getting into trouble. Good trouble, good trouble. And so that's when I first heard about this plan to order tickets to the to Trump's trample down Constitution Avenue and then not show up. But they do a lot of this, how to tip lines that you can swamp with bullshit, and you know, various other activities that help with the resistance. So I just recommend to people. It's called Daily Beans. Allison Gill and Dana Goldberg, they do it every day, and they have almost every day this segment on how to do good trouble.
Okay,
sounds good.
Step we take is important. One last question.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on, along with the boycotts, also supporting like Costco because of their DEI stance. And every time I go, I never thought I would support a big box store. It's not where I used to shop. But I like what they're doing, and I comment to the employees there that I appreciate what they're doing about the organization fighting this anti-DEI.
So your fellow member is urging you to be intentional with your dollars, with your shopping, and every little step you take shows others, especially the Brea rallies, is so we can see each other. And the people in those cars can see each other and not feel so lonely.
Okay, next slide. Okay. It's important that we all get our voices heard, and here's contact information for Congressman Derek Tran and for both of our senators, Alex Padilla and Adam Schiff, and Susan Perlson, another member of our steering committee, wants to make a few comments about contacting your legislators.
Actually, you know, I talk fast, so I'll be quick. State-led Indivisible of all California groups, we identify priority bills. We all get to vote on them. I know, I always get that reminder, thank you. We always get to vote on the bills that the state is adopting or adopting, that could be 2,000 bills that they do every year. And so we identify priority bills. And there's about 20 that we follow, and you can join a work group. And last night, an email came out from the Economic Justice Work Group, and they wanted us to call assembly members, state assembly members, and if you don't know who your assembly member is, you can go to the website findyourrep.legislature.california.gov. Because like, for example, I'm in North Brea, and Phil Chin is my assembly member, and I hear he's often on the golf courses. And fortunately, I'm represented by Bob Archuleta, who's a senator in LA, so that's a blessing. So that's where you can go to find your assembly member if you don't know. But so we're supposed to encourage them to vote yes on the Social Housing Act, which is AB 11. And so if you just call your assembly member and just say you would like to see them support this, it creates the California Housing Authority to produce mixed income housing that is affordable and self-sustaining. We can go call your assembly member to support AB 736, which is the Affordable Housing Bond Act of 2026 that Sharon Quirk-silva spoke about, and she is a co-author. AB 1240, which limits one homeowner to 1,000 units. So that's the three bills that the Economic Justice Work Group is recommending we support with our assembly member. There's one bill to call your state senator, which would be, your state senator, California state senator, encourage them to vote yes on SB 642, which strengthens the California Fair Pay Act, which I looked that up, and you have to just, I was kind of curious what that entailed, and so the salary history should be released to people who are applying for it, so that different pay is not provided based on your gender, etc. And so it kind of addresses fairness, which I guess is the name of it, California Fair Pay Act, to just make it equitable. So I also wanted to see if anybody would like to, we're seeing that Derek Tran is very involved at the federal level, is really making good progress. He's taking strong action on progressive bills that we support. And so if anyone would like to volunteer to follow him and keep track of it and keep a record for us, I think that'd be really nice to follow so we can support him. So when we provide a comment card or call him or his office, we can just say, we really want to thank you for that vote you took on that bill or the speech you gave at the House floor. So if you'd like to, consider that, think about that, and maybe share it with a partner. That would be really, I think, nice for all of us to have on a regular basis, because he's jumped right in, he's very active. So anything we can do to support him and help him in his re-election would be great. And to find how to follow his votes, go to justfacts.votesmart.org, and that's going to follow Derek Tran. So think about that if you could, and please keep in contact with the state legislature, as Sharon spoke about, the importance of what goes on there, and that we can affect change. And I think that's about it. Are there any questions about this that I can answer real quickly? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. And again, anybody who wants to help out Indivisible and keep track of the legislation that and Derek's votes that we can report back to our entire community, that would be wonderful. So next slide. Okay. Patty and Christine and I started off with our first of our visits to Derek Tran's office. And this is either to support legislation, like we supported his vote on the budget. The purpose of our visit was to deliver thank you notes and talk with them about how we appreciated his vote. It can also be to talk about legislation that we want him to support that hasn't come up yet, or if he, votes on something that we're in disagreement with, that we can mention that as well. But what we'd like to do, and we mentioned this at our last meeting, that we wanted to start having regular visits to his office to support or to thank for different bills that are coming up. And so we want to start this next month, twice a month. And we'd like some of your ideas, and we want to see maybe if it would work best if we had a specific day of the week and a time that we did it, and what would work best for most of you who are interested to participate. So I'd like to hear your ideas on either a day or a time, or any ideas you have about how we should go about this.
Raise your hand if you're interested in maybe attending one of these weekday visits to his office. Okay. 4, 5, 6, out of 40 people, 7, 8, 9. Any preferences to how we organize this? Do you want to tag team with someone in here, or do you want to set up a carpool or something else?
I think we should find out from Derek Tran's office what is the most comfortable time for him for us to come, and how much time would he give us? At least an hour, I would hope. That's my suggestion.
That's a great idea, and certainly we can ask his office what would be the best time for us to make a visit. So I saw your hand in your hand for other.
Okay. I was just to say, knowing a time and a date would be helpful for me to make a decision if I want to go. Because I can't, it's all depends on my schedule.
Right. That's why I'm suggesting that we figure out a day of the week and, morning or afternoon, what works best. Now, when we were visiting Ed Royce's office 6 or 7 years ago, whenever that was, 8 years ago, we went every Friday. That people knew that we were going to be there at 1 o'clock, and that we were going to have the little papers that you could sign with your comments. Sometimes we had larger events where several people came, like Harry was showing with the retirement party event that we had for Ed Royce. But that was a regular time, and so people knew that they could come on Friday at 1 o'clock and that we would be doing something. So if we want to do something like that again, and I love the idea of finding out from Derek Tran's office which day of the week and what time would work best for their staff, and we can make that plan.
Why don't we get the folks who are interested in doing this to sign up so that we've got an email list, and perhaps people can write down what times are best for them or what times are not good for them. And then we can work with Derek Tran's office, find out what would be a good time to schedule it, and then send out an email blast to the people who are interested. And we can then plan carpools or whatever to get everybody over there.
Sounds great. I will work on getting that list right now while we move on to the next agenda item. And we'll pass it around, and anyone who's interested can sign up. So I'll let Harry take over for the rest of this.
First, I have a question from Zoom. Someone was talking about getting tickets and not showing up and causing good trouble. What was that organization? America250.org. America250.org. Okay. And someone else was talking about beans. What?
Daily bean?
Daily beans.
So I was looking on the site, and you just RSVP that you plan on showing up. You're not reserving a spot or anything.
And so I just advise caution in thinking about doing that because that's what they use to count how many people attended. So like at the Bernie Sanders rally, the number that they put for people in attendance was based on the numbers that were presented with people that RSVP'd for that event. And if you went, you didn't have to show anything to say that you had reserved a spot there or anything like that. So it may have a poor, if there's pros and cons to doing that. Correct, the photos won't show, but they'll still have a number to put out there. Just like at the Bernie event, I mean, if you look, the numbers of people that were actually there, it was far more than what they were saying on the news because they base those numbers based on who RSVP'd.
So Debbie has a sign-in sheet.
Have the sign-in sheet here. So put your name, email, and the day and time that you prefer if you're interested in doing the office visits.
We have a question here, Harry.
I want to say thank you, Linda. That's a good comment. You should research what you're actually doing and what impact it has. But there was someone else that mentioned a website for getting into good trouble, something about beans.
It's called Daily Beans.
Daily Beans.
It's not a podcast, so you can just
Oh, so Google Daily Beans podcast.
Yeah, or go to your podcast and just select, and yeah.
For getting into good trouble. Okay.
While we're on the subject of perception, someone needs to bring up the fact that in right-wing media they're saying that in these protests, when we show up to protest on that day, we're in effect protesting the military, which of course we're not. And I think we should that should at least be something we should talk about, how to deal with that.
Yeah, I'll offer what you were saying. Oh, yeah. Yeah, my concern about June 14th is that it is Flag Day. And I hate for us to be perceived as flag burners or that counter what we're trying to do. It's not Trump's birthday, it's Flag Day. And I'd like to see us emphasize that yeah, let's support Flag Day, Betsy Ross Day, it's America. And I really like that we have an American flag up there every time we have a meeting, because we are Americans, and I don't want to be portrayed as being un-American.
Trump is using that event to celebrate the Army's 250th anniversary. So the parade on paper is to justify the parade for the Army's 250th, but it's also Trump's birthday. And he's spending like an extra $45 million while he's cutting on federal agencies.
The parade would never happen on the United States soil.
Yeah, what's your name? Richard. I appreciate your comment. I'm often known as the flag guy. I always bring flags or wear flag clothing. And people are emphasizing that it's Flag Day and it's being corrupted by what Trump is doing. Here, I'll give you.
I just wanted to add that you can listen to Daily Beans on YouTube. It's audio only, but you can still get it there.
Thank you. I was wondering if I could just put an even finer point on the idea of this parade. This is an authoritarian move.
Yes.
Authoritarians in history would have military parades to celebrate their own as propaganda, to sort of rally their base. So I just wanted to put that fine point on it, and that's just to emphasize that that's what we're up against. We're up against an authoritarian hosting a military parade, the kind that you see in dictatorships all around the world.
We do not embrace thrones, crowns, or kings.
Yeah, I agree.
Is it what she said? Disaster. This is disaster. We are in a fascist state now for everybody. We must get everybody together. This is the red bell should be going off for everybody. We're about to be overtaken by a dictator, and he's doing it systematically. What the Assemblywoman said, they're cutting us here locally. They're starting down. They're going to build it back up and down below. The grassroots. We start grassroots here. We got to start here, and we work up. We're starting at the top. They're starting at the top and the bottom. They're already doing it. It's already here. We're in a lot of trouble.
The good thing, there's more of us who are sane. We just, some of them feel isolated or don't know how to push back or are apolitical. But once we tell them, we come to meetings like this, all around the nation, small towns are getting together and new faces are coming. At the beginning of the meeting today, we asked how many people were new, and I counted about 8. That's good progress. Do that by 2026, when there's elections, we're going to have hopefully more people door knocking for campaigns or registering voters, or even now in 2025, write an article for your local newspaper about a topic. Harry, are we good on time, or are we going to wrap up?
We have another 18 minutes before we're supposed to be out of here. But yeah, let me get to this slide and one more slide, and we may still have a little time. Next time, Judge Newman will be here. I have to point out that this will not be a campaign event, okay? We can't have campaign events. Sharon was speaking, she speaks like someone who's running for re-election, but she swears she's not. Anyway, Josh, I've often said is one of my very favorite politicians, because he is not like a politician. He's very straightforward, very honest, very open, and he has a great sense of humor. He always gets a number of laughs when he speaks, so I'm looking forward to that. He is a candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction. He was on Education Committee, and he has a lot of good ideas. He wrote an op-ed in the LA Times saying the office that he's running for should not exist, that it should not be an elected position, it should not be political, it should be appointed, an expert should be appointed to run public instruction in California. So I do look forward to that. And I have one more slide I'd like to show you. Next slide. Like Patty already pointed out, we will have donation matching in June. So please don't donate today, donate tomorrow, okay? I put a bunch of flyers in the lobby that you can pick up and take home that are just like the one she taped up here that have the QR code where you can donate to us. And we do need donations. I would like to keep renting this lovely venue we have here. And we have expert Eric helping us get out on Zoom. We had 12, we had at the peak 13 people on Zoom also. And we have room in here, seating for about 300 people. So we need more people to come in. I hope more people come in and see Josh. And if we don't get an increase in the turnout here, we'll go back to the community center. So pick up a flyer on the way out.
I noticed the attendance has dropped since you were over at the Florida Community Center. This is a nice event here, and I think you need to be sending out emails to individuals individually rather than rely on social media, because not everybody follows social media. Everybody would get the email in their box.
Yeah.
They got it on Thursday. If you RSVP, they got it on Thursday in email.
Just a quick question. Is there any other way to donate besides through ActBlue?
Yes, but it's complicated. you can give me cash. I'm the treasurer, and I have, okay, well, let me explain. I've been the treasurer for, since 2017, and we do accept cash, but it won't be doubled. And I just keep the money, and I have a spreadsheet, a Google Doc that I keep track of our income and expenditures. And Indivisible has said they will accept checks not made out to me, but it has to be at least $50 or they won't bother with it. It has to be made out, I can get you the exact requirement. It has to be made out to something like the Indivisible project, and it has to have in the memo that it's for Indivisible CA 45, and then I have to fill out a form with
So,
your...
Harry, we got it. The reason we dealt with cash was when we first started in Trump 1.0, we didn't have all these websites and all these links. So Indivisible National allowed cash, and we would have people walk into a meeting and we had a cash bucket and people just gave $5 or $10. Then we set up a bank account, then that's how everything got structured. So now our infrastructure is set. We have a question or comment. Okay.
I just want to make 2 points. One, in regards to Phil Chen, my climate group mentioned that we were bombarding him with votes for a particular climate bill, and when somebody called to thank him, his staff said he actually voted for it. He wasn't aware of it, but he voted for it because of all those responses that came into his office. And it's like, that's how it works. People have to call in to bring his attention to an important topic. So I think he's being turned out, which is really a good thing. But that's a very striking comment, though, that his awareness was raised because of all the people who called. And so I also wanted to speak to your question about how to bring in people who don't want to participate. I think we all experience that. I was thinking, I think if you were to talk to your friend and say, what would be the most important message you would want to share with, say, Trump right now? And distill it down to like 3 words, 4 words that can be put on a poster, and say, how about I create a poster for you, and you come and hold that poster with me, and afterwards I'll treat you to a boba juice or whatever afterwards. I don't know if anybody else has any ideas on how to recruit your friends.
Just ask your friends, do they like doing what they're doing today? Do they want to be doing it tomorrow?
Another comment?
So I want to suggest that we do a shout out to Costco, who stood up to Trump and is standing by their DEI program and always has, and they're a wonderful company.
I'm going to bring up something that is very unpopular, but I want to engage Republicans. I want to start talking, and because asking somebody, why do you think this is good? They have to defend what Trump is doing. They're not going to be able to. Taking away our rights. So I'd like to know if we're planning on anything like that, or could start something like that.
Yeah, a couple of years back, we had a training on talking across the aisle with a group called Braver Angels, and certainly we could take a look at doing that again, perhaps late in the summer or in the fall, something like that. Great idea.
Yeah, I want to agree with the gentleman over there. We're talking, how many days into this are we? And look at where we are. It's just amazing. It's just sadly amazing. And for you guys who like Costco, which are stocking and stuff, they have a YouTube thing where you go look on YouTube and they discuss about the numbers they put on products and how some things in and some things are there. And just all about their products on a YouTube video. Can't remember exactly, but like the number 7 means this, and little star on the back means this, but it's a good way to save money. When you do go to Costco, you can even save more money. So. But yeah, the gentleman over there, we're only so many days in this. I'm a Native American, I'm Apache, like that. And I'm just stunned by this whole thing. Trying to get my friends over, and it's not easy. Try to.
I just want to quote Timothy Snyder again from his book on tyranny, apropos of the question about Flag Day and the Army anniversary. One of his little lessons is be patriotic. We all do love this country. And the fascists will always use patriotism. They will wrap themselves in the flag and pretend that we do not love this country. And so, yeah, get out there on the 14th in red, white, and freaking blue. And the other thing to our gentleman who was talking about, we're in such trouble and so on. The last lesson that Timothy Snyder makes is be as courageous as you can. And that may even be a tiny little wave as you drive past a demonstration.
Thank you. I agree we have to be as courageous as we can, because if we're not, we're going to face a lot more fear than we have to now. I wanted to mention that another advantage of this venue is that we get an excellent recording of it, and I will put it on our YouTube channel. So let your friends know they can hear Sharon's fiery speech on our Indivisible CA45 YouTube channel. Our previous meeting from last month is also there, and also the Rachel Maddow clip is on there, and so on. So visit us and like and subscribe when you watch our YouTube channel.
Thank you for everything. We appreciate you coming today. And when you walk out, you can see a flyer for another event happening tonight at 5 here, play. And then there's a flyer about our Monday night protest. If you want to take one of those flyers and share it with someone or drop it in someone's desk somewhere. Thank you. Thank you for coming. And thank you, Debbie, for listening.
Thank you again, and if you would like, please come back at 5 o'clock. It's going to be a fundraiser for Planned Parenthood, and every penny we raise will go to help women who are in need of reproductive health care where they can't get it in their state to come to California. So that's what we're raising money for tonight at 5.